Hi people, this is Bissam from Gaza. So today more and more people from Khan Yunis were told to evacuate. The blocks 812 and the blocks 46 were told to evacuate. These blocks are surrounding hundreds of thousands of people who are displaced aslan from their homes. It's surrounded of schools and hospitals. Many people are told to go to Rafah, but where to Rafah? Is it safe to go to Rafah? Is there any places in Rafah who could, that could accommodate these people who will be evacuating in the upcoming days? I mean today and maybe tomorrow also. So this is about Khan Yunis, about the middle area of Gaza Strip. Yesterday a massacre was committed in Al-Maghazi refugee camp, a crowded place with hundreds of thousands of people. Before the war and even during the war, most of them are displaced. These people were bombed during their being in residential buildings. 80 people were killed, dozens are missed, dozens and hundreds are injured. So the thing is, massacres are around people. They are told to go and to evacuate to other places that are not safe also, and are not enough also. There is no food and water and it's not secured. So it's just dangerous to go anywhere of these with your children, elderly, sicknesses and other people with disability maybe. So can you imagine and put yourself in the place of these people being killed in the Christmas Eve? It's the 25th of December today, and people, Christians and Muslims, supposed to be celebrating in Gaza Strip, but they are under bombing. We lost the celebrations of the New Year, the Eve, the Christmas Eve, maybe the next year beginning also, and the celebrations of this month. So a truce or a ceasefire, humanitarian ceasefire, is now put on the table to discuss. It's an Egyptian suggestion, and it's about 3 stages. But still, the conditions and the terms of this ceasefire is not clear between the two parties. So we don't know when is this ceasefire gonna begin. Who will survive until then? Well, we are talking about 28,000 people are killed. So that's it until now. Keep following to know more about Gaza. So today was really hard for people living in Khan Yunis, especially the middle of Khan Yunis, as we call it in Arabic, al-balad, because today the entrance of and the area of the entrance of Al-Hilal Ahmar, or the Red Crescent Hospital, Al-Amal Hospital, was bombed, resulting in 20 people to be killed, dozens of injuries, because simply the area is crowded. People are living there, are walking there, or even sitting on front and inside the hospital. So until now, 25 people were killed and reached Nasser Medical Complex. So the bombing was not only in Khan Yunis, the east of Rafah, the east of Khan Yunis, the east of Deir al-Balah, the east of Al-Maghazi, and the east of lefebraro, the east of the whole area. South to Gaza Valley was under bombing during the night, heavy bombing during the night. So fortunately, many of these places are evacuated, but unfortunately many of people are still there in their homes because they did not find any other places to go. As for Gaza City, partially the vehicles, the Israeli tanks and the Israeli army vehicles are outside the center of the city. So people are making videos for us, showing us the massive destruction in Gaza Strip, in Gaza City. I mean, this destruction, this massive destroyed homes and roads, we did not see in the truce, for example. So each time we see more videos for Gaza City, we see more and more destruction. This is for Gaza, but until now many people are still besieged by the snipers, by the unmanned plans in the north or Gaza city places. This is for now. Keep following to know more about Gaza, but before this I want to say that almost 9,000 people were killed, died, lost their lives because they did not find enough medical health care. we are talking about the supplies that are not enough. The hospitals are not enough. So 9,000 people at least were killed, lost their lives because there is no medical support for them. Another thing is that 75,000 people are still waiting. They are injured and still waiting to the suitable treatment for them. 5,000 of them are in severe injury and need to go outside Gaza to get the medical treatment. But unfortunately, until now, between 12 to 20 people are getting out to have the treatment daily. So this number, this percentage is not enough. 5,000 people are between death and life actually now and need to travel soon. This is for now. Keep following to know more about Gaza. Hey everyone, this is Bissam from Gaza. It's the day 85 of the ongoing genocide against Palestinians in Gaza Strip. Today was so hard for the places in the middle of Khan Yunis and other places, of course, of Gaza Strip. The ground invasion is getting closer and closer for every place in Khan Yunis and in the middle area of Gaza Strip. Khuza'a, the far east of Khan Yunis, is under the control of Israeli soldiers and Israeli tanks. So as for the middle area, the Bridge refugee camp was invaded, and now the El Maghazi refugee camp is under the gas bombs, and that means that it's the upcoming invaded place. People in the middle area are trying to evacuate to Deir al-Balah and other places, but as you know, as you can tell, after all of these displacements, there's no enough spaces, either in the middle area or even in the southern areas that contains of Khan Yunis and Rafah. Another thing is that the continuous bombing on the northern areas of Gaza Strip. I'm talking about the north of Gaza. It's a governance, and Gaza city itself is very hard against civilians there. We're talking about also the continuous starvation, the continuous hunger. Many people are killed because they simply cannot find anything to eat or any clean water to drink, neither in the schools nor in the hospitals or even their homes. So talking about the schools, we're talking about bombing another school called the Al-Isawi school in the Saftawi neighborhood, and talking about the injuries and to people that they were killed. We're talking about the hospitals that are unable to give any medical support, any medical treatment for any injury because the health system is collapsed in the north of Gaza and in the south of Gaza as well, but in the north more and more, as all the hospitals there were invaded and were destroyed. So it's continuous genocide against Palestinians. Everything in Palestine, not the people, the places, the homes, also the remains, the architectural remains, the old sites. We're talking about the palace, El Basha Palace. It was destroyed today. This palace was a museum. It is an 800 years old building. It was built in the Mamluki era, a Muslim era, and it was a museum for hundreds of historical pieces. So it was destroyed. So this is the genocide targeting every single place and everything in Gaza, the culture, the people, the buildings, the streets, infrastructure, and everything. The last thing to say is that there is a progress in the negotiations, and we are waiting for any news about a ceasefire or even a truce, and we hope that we can go back to our homes very soon. This is for now. Keep following to know more about Gaza. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. It's December the 30th, 2023, live from Gaza. We'll take you today just for a short tour here on the streets to see what's available in the market right now. I'm getting a lot of questions. Do you have things to buy, etc.? So, as you can see here, are fresh fruits and vegetables.
والله نعم الوكيل على هالشعب المظلوم وصله.
وين عوامة عوامة
So as you can see, slowly goods are trickling in and they are making it into the hands of the displaced civilians here in Khan Younis. Just thought I'll give you a quick tour of what it looks like a few meters outside of Nasser Hospital here. Inshallah, together we'll stay strong and we will continue to work towards a free Palestine and a free world, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
We were in Gaza and we didn't know what to do because they were threatening house after house after house in our area to leave their place. A house was bombed next to our house and my house was completely destroyed and even my brother was martyred. I didn't know what to feel about that, but then my mom said that we have to go to the Wusta. There's no more choices. We need to leave because it's dangerous out here. We went to Rafah. And from Rafah, we stayed 2 days there, not knowing where to go. We slept in people's houses. We didn't know who they are. So we stayed there, and the house that we stayed in, we thought it was good, and we found shelter finally. A house next to it was bombed, and the house went crazy, and the windows broke. What was I supposed to do? My brother was shaking. I was shaking. I was scared. I didn't move from my place because of how terrified I was. Here were women, children, and men and young boys. There are many beds and many pillows that you can see here, and many clothes of children and women. And all of those people were killed here. You can clearly see that the houses are sticked together. So when they target one house, they're targeting a whole block by this point. And it's unfair. Why can't we live normally? Why can't we live a normal life? I mean, we're children and we're people. Where am I supposed to go? Children were killed here. 26 people were killed here. I'm terrified. I'm scared, and the thought of me being killed or my other brother being killed just crossing my mind repeatedly. I already lost my older brother. I can't lose my younger brother. I have no one left. No one to look up to.
لا أي حال وصلنا يا رب في غزة، لا أي حال.
زي ما تقول مش موفر عندنا الحطب ولا موفر بنزين ولا السولر ولا كهرباء. فالمستشفى فيها كهرباء واحنا متواجدين في المستشفى كصحفيين. فروح نشتري قرص جاهز ما فيه، لانه لقيناهم مقطوعات من المنطقه كلها، في كل مدينه خان يونس ما في قرص، فاضطرينا نروح الرفح نشتري الاغراض قطعه قطعه، نجيب القرص ونعمل قرص نشتري فيه زي نظام للاكل، يعني للخبز للفول للحمص للامور اللي نسخن فيها. آلية العمل الحين بدنا نركب هاي هان، الحين بتشوفيها كيف هتركب، نركبها هان وبعدين نحط شبك نفس النظام هذا نحطه فوقه، تمام، بعدين بنوصلها مع السلك اللي هان وبنشغلها في الكهرب وبنتوكل على الله نشتغل فيها. بسم الله. تكبير.
طبعا اخوان هذا اختراع جديد احنا كنا برفح ومازن شرى قطعه هذه من الشابوره، هذه من العوده، السلك هذا جابه من نص البلد، وهذا واحنا مروحين بالطريق عند السلطان جبناه حمام بالضبط. يعني ايفون كمان. طب العقل الفكره من وين؟ العقل؟ مازن العقل
تمام يا عمي، شغالين هي 100%.
جرب الايفون.
There are 1.5 million homeless in Gaza. More than 65,000 housing units were completely destroyed and 290,000 are in need of restoration and cannot be lived in. Even if a permanent ceasefire happened right now, there would be thousands upon thousands of people who would not be able to return back to a home. In the last few days, over 100,000 Palestinians have moved into Rafah. This is a city in Gaza that is located in the far south. And this is because of the intensifying attacks on Khan Yunis, which is in another part of the south. But even with this massive movement from Khan Yunis to Rafah, Rafah is still being bombarded by the IOF. They continue to hit residential buildings and civilian infrastructure in both cities. Only 13 out of the 36 Gaza hospitals are partially functioning. And the occupancy rates of these hospitals are reaching 206% in inpatient departments and 250% in intensive care units. There were deadly attacks in the vicinity of the European hospital in Khan Yunis today. Since October 7th, over 307 Palestinians have been killed in the occupied West Bank. This includes 79 children. A captive Israeli soldier was killed in Gaza by an Israeli airstrike. Israel continues to attack Syria. Israeli warplanes targeted cities in the northeastern Syrian city of Aleppo, according to the Syrian Defense Ministry. And then last week, an Israeli air raid outside the Syrian capital Damascus killed a senior advisor in Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps, which Iran has made clear there will be a retaliation. And then 19 pro-Iranian fighters, including 4 Syrians and 6 Iraqis, were killed and more than 18 were wounded in at least 9 airstrikes overnight near the Iraqi border. So for those of you who are not aware, Israel is and has been attacking Iraq and Syria. On top of attacking southern Lebanon, the Biden administration granted emergency approval of a potential weapons sale to Israel. This move allows the Biden administration to bypass congressional approval on the potential $147 million sale of projectiles and related equipment. And this isn't the first time that they have used this bypass in terms of Congress. Now, Israel's far-right finance minister, Smotrich, made a comment during an interview discussing the future of Gaza settlements after this genocide. And Netanyahu continues to reiterate that there will be indefinite security control over Gaza after the genocide. So for those of you who continue to believe that Zionism can exist, you are out of your fucking minds. Look how much Israel has done right in front of our faces. Right in front of our fucking faces. And they do it all in the name of Zionism. They will not stop unless they are held accountable. And at this point, it seems like they want a regional war, but they severely underestimate their enemies. That is why I always tell you guys, a ceasefire, a permanent ceasefire, is the first step. It doesn't even cover all of the work that we have to do after that. Because the violence, the abuse, the occupation itself, the fascist regime itself will continue to exist, even with a permanent ceasefire, unless we put an end to it. Keep your eyes on everything and continue spreading information. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free.
I just want to share some text messages from a friend who's reporting on Gaza from the Rafah border. She says, quote, "They flattened Gaza, turned the territory into disease and death for 2 million people, put every hospital out of function, most entirely bombed the limbs off more than 9,000 kids, killed pregnant women and their premature babies, and managed to have Gazans fleeing on foot for 4 miles to sleep in tents, thanking them for liberating and freeing them from Hamas," according to a friend of Jared Kushner. The U.S. complicity in this atrocity is not going unnoticed. She continues, quote, "By the way, those U.S. weapons are not even bought by Israel. It's just given. We pay for it." And it goes right back to Boeing, Lockheed, Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, and the whole lot. And if you look at the biggest shareholders, BlackRock, Vanguard, etc., you'll see a pattern, end quote.
Egypt has proposed an idea for the H group and Israel to stop the war in Gaza. And the proposal consists of 3 phases that will eventually lead to a permanent ceasefire in Gaza. The first phase is a ceasefire for 10 days, and in that ceasefire there is an exchange of hostages, so the H group is going to release the civilians, including women, children, and elderly, and Israel is going to release an agreed number of Palestinian hostages that are in the Israeli jails. And that is with a ceasefire on the whole Gaza Strip, and the Israeli forces are going to have to go away from the residential areas, allowing the Palestinians to go from the south to the north, and allowing the trucks and the movement of aid to reach the north. And Israel is going to stop any flying objects from airplanes and drones and anything to fly over Gaza Strip. In the second phase, the H group is going to release all the female soldiers that they have as hostages, and the Israeli side is going to release another number of Palestinian civilians who are in the Israeli jails. And also both sides are going to have to hand over all the bodies that have been detained since the 7th of October. And in the third phase, it's going to be a whole month of negotiations, and in that month, the H group is going to release all the hostages from soldiers and any Israelis they still have in the Gaza Strip, and Israel is going to release a big number of the Palestinian hostages that they have in the Israeli prisons. And the H group is going to have to stop all the military activities against Israel, and also Israel is going to have to do the same. According to the Egyptian news, that Egypt is responsible for the proposal and responsible for both sides agreeing and committing to what is in this proposal, and that is a preliminary proposal by Egypt to stop the war on Gaza and lead to a permanent ceasefire. That is the proposal that has been discussed yesterday, and Egypt is still waiting for a response from the Israeli side and from the H group. And let me know what do you think of this proposal, and if you think that this proposal is favoring the H group or not, or is it benefiting the Palestinian people and their needs or not.
Do you know what this is a picture of? No, it's not a picture of a guy laying on the ground because he's tired or sleepy or whatever. It is a picture of a man from Gaza who cannot cope with the loss of his childhood friend who just so happens to be laying next to him. His friend was unalived in an airstrike, and because of the situation in Gaza, there is nowhere and no time to bury the people who have passed. Therefore, people in Gaza just take all of the people who are deceased and put them in one area until there is enough time in the airstrikes or a tiny little break to where they can bury them in mass graves. And just like a majority of the Gazan people, the ones who are still alive and who have survived this long in the 80 plus days of the airstrikes are not able to cope with the loss of the people in their life anymore because of the amount of stress and trauma they are under. Just look at the video of him trying to cope with the loss of his childhood friend.
This is what a co-conspirator to a genocide looks like. I could be wrong, but this doesn't look like a ceasefire to me. And this looks like a lot of arms to use against a country that doesn't even have drinking water or electricity.
The toll has reached 30,000 in G, 11,000 children, and the Biden administration has just approved sending $147 million more to continue the cleansing. Happy New Year, everyone!
They've done it again. Joe Biden has no moral compass, and he's not even listening to the American people. Are we in the Twilight Zone? They said that because of Is Not Real's urgent defensive needs, they felt it necessary to immediately approve this transfer. What? They're expanding operation in the South, in Han Yunis, where they told people to go. Where are these people supposed to go? I am convinced that America and the Biden administration wants the same thing that Is Not Real right-wing government wants. They want to completely wipe out these people. What other explanation do you have? They're literally innocent civilians. They're just going full force on innocent civilians. They haven't secured any more captives. Age group is in the tunnels. They're not succeeding on the ground against age group, so they're completely wiping out innocent civilians. But you know what? Let's say you're completely heartless and you just don't even care about these civilians, right? The Biden administration is requesting $106 billion for national security. Both Republicans and Democrats have told the American people time and time again, we don't have enough money for your health care. We don't have enough money for student loans. We don't have enough money for infrastructure. But they have enough money to send to foreign countries to fund wars. At least be outraged by that.
You guys know how the American president in 1947 played a role in establishing Israeli statehood. In 1947, Harry Truman was president and was at risk of losing the election the following year. Like most presidents who are at risk of losing the re-election, Truman was determined to get re-elected and was catering to many groups across America. Among those groups were Zionists, urged Truman to recognize Israel as a Jewish state in exchange for the Jewish vote in America. Now, at that time, the UN Partition Plan was created, which was very controversial. Many Jewish and non-Jewish people alike opposed Zionism and their ways of establishing Jewish statehood, because at that time, terrorist organizations like the Irgun and others were causing death and destruction to both the British and Palestinians. The UN Partition Plan was also very unpopular amongst Arabs and others, because while Jewish people only made 30% of the population, they were allocated 55% of the land, and while Arabs made up 70% of the population, they were allocated 46% of their own homeland. And at that time, outright Jewish ownership of Palestinian land did not exceed 5%. Nonetheless, Truman still recognized Israel as a state, becoming the first world leader to do so. This, along with the General Assembly vote, outraged the Arab people, causing riots and protests. This is Truman's take of why the Arabs and the Jewish people were so upset with him. All sources in the comments.
Don't think that decision to recognize Israel is an easy one. I had to make a compromise with the Arabs and divide Palestine. The Jews wanted to chase all the Arabs into the Tigris and Euphrates River, and the Arabs wanted to chase all the Jews into the Red Sea. And what I was trying to do was to find a homeland for the Jews and still be just with the Arabs. But when you go into a thing of that kind, the people you help most are the ones that get most angry with you. Both of them were against me on the situation, but as President of the United States, I paid no attention to them, carried out what I thought was right, and I had the support of the Congress, and I could do it, which is unusual in these days.
Could you tell us specifically that a lot of Jewish people were against you too?
Oh, well, there were a lot of Jewish people against me because they wanted the whole of Palestine. As I say, they wanted to drive all the Arabs into the Tigris and Euphrates rivers.
Each October, Palestinians prepare for the annual olive harvest. At least 80,000 families in the West Bank rely on this tradition for their livelihoods, but they face growing hardship. Attacks by Israeli settlers on Palestinian property rise significantly during harvest season with impunity. Israeli authorities themselves confiscate agricultural land, enforce access restrictions that limit harvest, and destroy olive trees. Between 1967 and 2013, Israeli authorities caused $12.3 million in losses annually by uprooting over 800,000 Palestinian olive trees. The impact of that number is hard to grasp. But just imagine, it's equivalent to raising all of the 24,000 trees in New York's Central Park 33 times.
I don't think people truly understand the difference between a million, a billion, and a trillion. So a million seconds is 11 days. A billion seconds is 31 years. A trillion seconds is 36,000 years. Okay, now that we have an understanding of how truly big a trillion is, the US military budget every year is close to $1 trillion or $877 billion to be exact. That's more than the next 10 countries, the military budgets of the next 10 countries combined. Just think about this for a second. Even if we reduced the military budget of the US every year by just 10%, it would free up an additional $80+ billion to just spend every year. And that would still leave the US military budget with a high enough budget that's hundreds of billions of dollars more than any other country on earth. But don't feel too bad. A large part of this military budget is used to pay for the pensions and the salaries of civil servants in the Ukraine. Part of this military budget is also used to pay for the college education and healthcare of the citizens of the country that shall not be named.
I normally don't like replying to trolls because I know all you're doing is like trolling, but you're right. I am not indigenous to the land of Israel. I am not indigenous to a settler, colonial, fake apartheid state that is built upon the mass graves of Palestinians and the killing of Palestinians and the ongoing systematic oppression of Palestinians. I am indigenous to the actual land there, Palestine.
For everyone who is in awe of Yemen right now for doing what we thought was the impossible and taking a substantial stand against what is essentially the imperial core, I just wanted to remind you that this is not the first time that Yemen has, saved or inspired humanity. Somewhere along the 1400s, these Sufi monks in the land known as Yemen cultivated these plants and brewed this drink that we now call today coffee. And just due to the nature of travel and trade, coffee beans and subsequently the drink known as coffee started expanding across the land. People started getting a hold of it and they started creating these niche little spaces known as coffee shops. And in these weird little new spaces that were popping up across civilizations, intellectuals and innovators and artists all had a place to convene and just drink stimulant drugs. And they started socializing and they started exchanging ideas and they started creating plans. And this propelled humanity into an era of enlightenment and innovation and was also an effective way to build community. What I'm trying to get at here is that Yemen, centuries ago, due to agricultural innovation and experimentation, sowed the seeds of a proper revolution into our modern-day society. There is a giant chunk of us, a giant chunk of humanity that were essentially the guinea pigs of developing technology. As we were growing up, innovative technology was being thrown at us left and right, and nobody knew what the effects were going to be. We just had to participate and wait and see. And the reality is that while a lot of positivity has come from it, social media and technology has fractured our ability to socialize and build community. And yet, because of our communal nature, whether we're introverts or not, we have progressed to finding our way towards the age of TikTok. And the thing about TikTok, at least as far as my experience is concerned, is that the culture of it feels like it's trying to rip away the layers of inauthenticity that other social media platforms taught us to build up. And in becoming comfortable, in becoming our most authentic selves, we have found a way to build community despite the division that social media feels like it has built between us. And virtual spaces where people can connect and discover each other and recognize their commonalities are extremely important for us right now. But the last step after discovering each other and connecting and networking is you have to challenge yourself to build that community outside of this particular virtual space. And thanks to a little country known as Yemen, there are a substantial amount of spaces across the world that y'all can convene to build community. I'm saying this to me, first and foremost, because I know this is going to be the biggest challenge for me. I'm just saying, for every little revolutionary conversation you're having over a cup of coffee, that's the spirit of Yemen that you're invoking.
There's been quite a few Palestinians in the diaspora who have been expressing the importance of Palestinians being the center of the Free Palestine movement and ensuring that Palestinians are leading this movement. And I want to first validate their feelings and to echo their sentiments. Many of my friends who are Palestinians either live in the West Bank or they live in 48, which is apartheid state Israel. They are not allowed to speak up on what's happening. They're not allowed to make videos like I can, or else they will be arrested and sent to Israeli prison where they will be tortured to death. On top of that, I want to tell you guys that Palestinians are extremely well educated. They have one of the highest literacy rates in the world. And I think that is so impressive and exceptional because despite the fact that they are under occupation, they've been able to prioritize education. So you have a group of people who are experiencing this occupation firsthand, and then they're very well educated. Because Palestine is such a small country, they're only hours away from Gaza. But this group of people are not able to speak up about what is happening. So that responsibility then moves on to Palestinians in the diaspora. And the Palestinians in the diaspora are not only documenting this genocide and educating us on their struggle, but they now bear the responsibility of ensuring that they are the ones controlling the narrative, that this power doesn't go into the wrong hands, right? And that is something that I completely understand because for so long, Palestinians have been denied this. They've been denied the right to have the mic. You know, for many of us who are not Palestinians, you might think like it's a Free Palestine movement. Of course, Palestinians are leading this movement. But for Palestinians, this is the first time that there's been eyes on their movement. And they're seeing a lot of non-Palestinians, you know, gain these platforms and speak up and, you know, maybe they see Palestinians who are non-Palestinians say the wrong thing. And they're just trying to control the narrative, right? They have to ensure that that power doesn't go to the wrong hands. I also want to express that like Palestinians are heavily surveillanced by the Israeli government. So it's also on top of that, they're very weary of people. They don't know who's who. They don't know who's a real one, right? Who's an op? That in itself can be such a burden to worry about something like that because on top of watching the genocide of your people, you don't really know who to trust. And you have to bear the responsibility that you now as Palestinians have to work together to lead millions of people to a free Palestine, right? To actually be able to successfully see a free Palestine. When I showed up to Palestine, I showed up with my very American mind and I had to unlearn a lot. All the videos that I make, it's information that I've learned from Palestinians and I just regurgitate it to you guys in hopes that it opens up your minds and your hearts in the way that it did for me. My my life has forever changed because of Palestine. You know, the way that I see the world, the way that I live, the way that I consume has all been changed. The Palestinian movement, seeing the Palestinian struggle, learning about it, opened up my heart to feel so much compassion, not just for Palestinians, but for all groups of people. And I just wanted to make this video and to say that as non-Palestinians, it's so important for us to create a safe space for Palestinians and to ensure that we make them feel secure and that they're valid in their anger and their frustration and their pain, because this is very emotional that we're seeing. You know, we're being bombarded with so much information. We're watching a genocide. I feel like I'm going crazy. I cannot imagine how Palestinians are feeling. And I think that we can actually have a very successful movement if, one, we get behind Palestinians, and two, we make sure that we're all working together for one goal, which is to see a free Palestine. I don't have the solutions. It's never going to be my place to give solutions, but I know that Palestinians do have the solutions, and it just takes us to listen to them.
Hey y'all, I know it's been a minute. I've been at the Mass ICNA conference, and I wanted to shout out 3 nonprofits real quick that have just been doing phenomenal work. I'm going to get to know even more nonprofits tomorrow, and we'll be just reporting back here. But the 3 nonprofits I want to highlight: Islamic Relief USA, Pious Projects, and Rahma Worldwide. They are, all 3 of them are on the ground in Gaza doing the work. All 3 of them. Islamic USA has been targeted by the occupation and has lost team members. Rahma Worldwide is getting surgeons, like trauma surgeons and doctors, to Gaza to actually perform the intense and important surgeries that we're seeing with all of these traumatic injuries. Pious Projects, 100% of the proceeds goes to the actual assistance they're giving to Palestinians. So 0% of the proceeds go to admin fees. 100% of donations go to what it needs to go to. So please show them love. The link is in my bio. I don't know why TikTok has like an outdated link for y'all. I have no idea why, but on my Instagram link, it's updated. So please show them some love. Please leave any donation that you can make. It's greatly appreciated, but all 3 are actually on the ground doing the work in Gaza.
The IOF is the most humane military there is, and their goal has never been to hurt anybody, especially not civilians. This is something we have been told again and again, and no matter how often we show them that this is not the case by, showing them what exactly they do to civilians, to children, they still don't believe us. But right now, once again, there's another video of an actual IOF soldier going around where he himself says what he believes in and whether or not he would like to hurt kids or civilians.
We are looking for babies, but there is no babies left.
What babies? Say that again. Say it again.
No, maybe I killed a girl, she was 12, but I'm looking for a baby.
At this point, you are obtuse on purpose if you're pretending as if the only goal of the IOF is not, just simply ethnically cleansing all of Palestine. By the way, something they have already done to the north of Palestine. They have said that the north of Palestine has been successfully cleansed of Palestinians. You have a man who's probably not even that much older than me looking into a camera, smiling and laughing while he's saying that he was looking for babies, but stumbled upon a 12-year-old and what he did to her. He wasn't looking for hostages, he was not looking for Hamas members, he was looking for babies. And that's the issue, because it's not like, the IOF has ever hidden what they have been doing. Never, not once have they actually hidden it, and when they tried, they failed miserably. The issue is that while they tell you what they're gonna do and what they are doing, nobody cares. The West ignores it. You will not see any type of Western media post about this whatsoever, or about the other countless confessions, because that's what I'm calling them, confessions of IOF members. And even when they are talking about the wrongdoings of the IOF, they will excuse it. For example, in the country that I live in, when it came out that the IOF had unalived 3 Israeli hostages in Gaza, the way that they reported on it was, saying, oh, it was very accidental. They are very regretful. It was just a little mistake. They didn't see it, even though these 3 men were literally, waving white flags, yelling in Hebrew, and not being threatening whatsoever. That's the way they will report on whatever the IOF is doing, and a way to excuse it and to make it look okay, as if it, it serves the goal of saving everybody while they haven't saved a single person. It is your choice whether or not you want to be on the wrong side of history or the right side of history. But don't come crawling back in like 10-15 years pretending as if you have never done anything wrong, as if you have not stood with the ethnical cleansing, the colonization and the unaliving of the Palestinian people for the last 75 plus years.
Do you want to understand just how biased and unreliable our media is? I present to you a tale of two headlines, both from the venerable New York Times. Headline number 1, explosion caused by who? Said to be an airstrike leaves many casualties in dense neighborhood. Dozens were taken to a nearby hospital where a photographer for the New York Times saw the injured crowd in the hallways and the lifeless, being prepared for burial. Headline number 2, Russia. Okay, so this time we know who's blowing things up. Pounds Ukrainian cities in one of the largest air attacks of the war. The missile and drone attacks K-worded at least 30 people. Alright, so they're not lifeless anymore. And this time we know who and what caused all that lifelessness. Both of these attacks are deplorable, by the way. This video's message is not to say that one is and the other isn't. But that is, unfortunately, exactly what our Western media and politicians believe.
I need you to understand that in the West Bank and Palestine right now, Palestinians are getting killed, abused, and humiliated. Checkpoints have been a problem way before October 7th. Checkpoints are integral to the Israeli occupation. Restrict Palestinian life on every front. Movement, education, career, access to family members, access to friends are cruel, inhumane, and integral to Israeli apartheid. My family in Palestine have expressed to me that they do not know every single day if they are guaranteed return to their home. Because of all the stories of Israeli soldiers either detaining or killing Palestinians in the West Bank. It's not detainment, if it's not killing, it's humiliation and it's abuse. I'll share a couple of stories with you real quick. One man was stopped at the checkpoint and he was asked, are you Jewish or are you Arab? And the man said back, well, what do you want to hear? He was Palestinian. The Israeli soldier didn't like this. He took his phone, he started searching through it. Israeli soldiers do not have to ask permission to look through Palestinian people's phones. They do it whenever they desire. They don't have to have rhyme or reason. What they're looking for is pro-Palestine sentiment, pro-Palestine content in any really case. Remember, there's no Hamas in the West Bank, so even with Israel's flawed logic, these are not Hamas suspects. They found nothing on his phone because Palestinians routinely make sure their phone is clean before they hit a checkpoint. What did the soldier do? He told him, you either kiss my hand and I give you your phone back, or I beat you up. If you're not familiar, this kiss my hand, boos idi in Arabic, it's a sign of like deep respect, praise to the person. Usually like you kiss the hand of your grandmother, of your grandfather, people worthy of respect in your life. The Israeli soldier clearly is mocking this person, telling him, you either kiss my hand and I give you your phone back and you move forward, or I beat you up. This person who has dignity and would never want to kiss the hand of an occupier, genocidal maniac, said, no, I'm not kissing your hand. The soldier proceeded to beat that man over the head with his massive gun until his skull caved in. He went to the hospital. Another man, also at the checkpoint, got stopped. His phone got taken from him. They also didn't find anything. Before they let him go, they made him hold the Israeli flag, take pictures with it, made him say, I love Israel. They're like allegiance to Israel. Made him dance. Taunted him, they humiliated him, and then they let him go home. Another tactic that these terrorists use, they will curse at someone repeatedly at the checkpoint to aggravate them. They want a reaction from them, hopefully an aggressive one, hopefully a physical one. They have any opportunity to beat them up, to arrest them, to kill them. Car checkpoints where they stop cars coming through often search the phone of the driver as well as the phone of whomever they want within the vehicle. Keep in mind that these soldiers at the checkpoints are usually young people. Youth of Israel that are on a power trip have been raised to be incredibly evil. They're given the go-ahead to do quite literally whatever they want to humiliate Palestinians, make their life more of a living hell than it already is. They are known to kill Palestinians and then throw a knife or a weapon on the scene to pretend like they had a reason, which is also the tactic they use to arrest Palestinians en masse. A huge reason why many Palestinians are held as hostages, political prisoners right now in this moment. These soldiers are given the orders to humiliate, detain, to kill, and have their pick. No one would have ever been held accountable for those actions. So when we say that ceasefire is not enough, that we demand a free Palestine, is because whenever this genocide ends, people in Palestine don't go back to peace. They've never experienced peace. This begins on the day that the occupation ends. I highly recommend that you go read into these checkpoints. They are completely unavoidable for Palestinians. There's one very infamous one called the Container, East Jerusalem. This checkpoint is unique because it is jammed into the throat of the Palestinian territory, severing the continuity of the villages on the edge of Jerusalem. This internal checkpoint that is a way of keeping a boot on the Palestinians' neck, an ever-present reminder that no matter how far you are from Israel, Israel is constantly watching. This is a good read about the Container. The stories I told you are based in the Container. It's a rabbit hole that you're going to fall down when you start learning about the extent of these occupation checkpoints, what they do to Palestinians, fascist purpose they serve. If you're new to this, if you're new to the pro-Palestine movement, understand that this goes deep. Genocide should be top of mind right now. As you never lose sight of that, understand that this is the Palestinian reality. They have never had peace. It did not start on October 7th, and this will not end when a ceasefire happens.
So as an overall movement, a united front, I believe we should all hold ourselves accountable and own up to the fact that we dropped the ball. There was a massacre over the weekend. 50 airstrikes, 50 bombs were dropped by Israel over central Gaza, very targeted, specific area that's the dead center of 3 different camps. More than 70 people died. The footage that IOF soldiers have documented and shared of them humiliating, stripping down men, young boys, the elderly, the disabled, zip-tied. They're blindfolded. They're in an enclosed area. That's a concentration camp, guys. That's a concentration camp. And what's so ironic is that this apartheid state of Israel is using religion, weaponizing religion, okay? Holding on to Jewish supremacy in order to degrade and do what was once done to them. These are European Jews that came down from Europe after World War II. And at the same time, Palestinians in the diaspora are being demonized because of speaking to and calling out and exposing the ongoing generational trauma of this Jewish supremacy that, yes, is Zionism, but we have to call out the weapon that they're using, guys. For those who are either just now learning about things or do not have any form of connection to the occupation, to say that it is not an attack on religion or it has nothing to do with religion. It is so powerful and privileged of you to be able to say that without you experiencing firsthand the disrespect, the belittling, the humiliation, the brutality of how religion has been used against those, especially the ones where it's very obvious what our religion is. May Allah forgive us for the lives that we were distracted from acknowledging. This is not a video to put us down as a movement. We've done a great job. I've never seen this.
It's about to be 2024. We're done with small talk. We're also done with fake deep conversations. We're talking about Palestine. We're talking about mental health. We're talking about intergenerational trauma. We're talking about what does it mean for us to build a world that we want to live in? How do we exist outside of these ableist, capitalist, colonial systems that are designed to break us and ultimately isolate us? How do we build our tolerance to be able to have uncomfortable conversations? Because what Palestine is showing us is that people will go great lengths to be silent, to compartmentalize, to do everything possible to not disrupt the status quo, so long as it keeps them able to access their right to comfort. So be bold, be direct, tell your friends and your loved ones how you're feeling. And if they can't hold it, then these relationships need to be reevaluated.
Every single problem in my life could be traced back to the British Empire.
The reason why Israel is acting with so much aggression, unaliving Palestinians in the masses, butchering Palestinians, destroying their homes, destroying the whole of Gaza, acting like monsters. The reason they're doing this so openly and without a care in the world is because they're banking on you to forget. They're banking on your kids and your grandkids not to remember. Because once they ethnically cleanse all of the Palestinians, they can just edit the internet, erase Palestinians from the internet's history. Once they destroy Palestine and ethnically cleanse all of the Palestinians, they can just erase Palestinians from your history books. As they have been trying to erase Palestinians from even Arab history books. When Ben-Gurion, the first Prime Minister of Israel, was questioned about his ethnic cleansing of the Palestinians in 1948, he famously said, "The old will die and the young will forget." Israel is banking on all of us to forget. If not us, then your children or your grandchildren. The only reason that the movement for Palestinian freedom and liberation has not died is because of the people. It's because of my parents and my grandparents. Because they told their children and their children's children the truth. Our parents and our grandparents and our great-grandparents always remind us the truth of Israel and Palestine. Keep reminding us of the history and to never forget. So I'm begging each and every one of you, especially those who aren't Arab, to keep teaching your children, your grandchildren, remind them of Palestine, remind them what Israel has done. So when Israel tries to pretend that it's the only democracy in the Middle East, when Israel tries to pretend that hummus and falafel and knafe is theirs, please remember the truth and keep spreading the truth.
With everything that's been going on in Palestine these past couple of months, it's kind of really easy to overlook at the recent escalation of events happening on the southern border of Lebanon, and most importantly, the potential outbreak of war between Israel and the Lebanese militant group Hezbollah. In solidarity with the people of Gaza, on October the 8th, Hezbollah launched guided missiles and artillery shells on Israeli positions in this tiny little area at the border called Sheba Farms, which was annexed by Israel in 1981. Israel would then respond by firing its own missiles towards the border, which started a tit-for-tat between the two groups, with tensions only further escalating. But what's really significant about all of this is the increasing barbarity of the Israeli attacks. Now, while most violence has been confined within the border area, Israeli air raids are being conducted further and further into the north, hitting different villages and towns, causing more civilian casualties. There's also more increasing evidence of Israel using white phosphorus supplied by the United States in civilian populated areas. The number of civilian casualties has been growing more and more significantly as this continues. Now, while it is true that the majority of these casualties are members of Hezbollah, that does not negate the fact that Israel has used chemical weapons, bombed monasteries, and also conducted airstrikes in heavily populated areas. With these recent barbaric attacks and the fear of a potential war, Israel has successfully internally displaced almost 72,000 civilians. So make sure to remember what's going on in Lebanon and keep them in the loop.
If you haven't seen this Gaza Resistance Cats cartoon featuring Commander Kitty, watch.
What I would do for a loaf of bread to feed my sister and brother before they both are dead. They hold me tight as a plane flies overhead, and what's left of our home on a broken bed. It's been 75 years of us dying here, colonized by a Zionist pioneer. You can open up your phone and see the blood splatter, searching through the rubble, grown men crying tears. They haven't let me leave Gaza for my whole life. Gave me no opportunities and no rights. Cut the electric off again, we got no lights. Pitch black, house shaking, bombs dropping all night. How could anybody think it's alright? These missiles have no names, they drop them on our grade schools. Do you have no shame? They wanna wipe us all out. I pray the world speaks up. I don't know how much more I could take of this pain.
Free Palestine! Free Palestine! The Palestinian resistance will live! The Palestinian resistance will live! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
If you're pro-queer, pro-Palestine, and anti-genocide, stop scrolling because I need your help and you're gonna solve this riddle for me. Why is it that Human Rights Campaign, the largest LGBTQ+ political lobbying organization within the United States, which has not made any statements in support of Palestinians or a ceasefire, why is it that this corporate sponsor right here on their public website in the wide open range, why are they funded by this platinum corporate sponsor? If you don't know who Northrop Grumman is, or however the heck that's pronounced, I'll give you a hint. They are not selling cupcakes. They are a weapons manufacturer that has a history into present day during this genocide of sending weapons to Israel paid for by our United States government using our tax dollars. These weapons, which are used by Israel to kill Palestinians, to genocide Palestinians. Throwing a shot in the dark here could be one of the many reasons why that HRC among these organizations and many others have not called for a ceasefire or expressed any solidarity with the Palestinian people. How can you be an organization that claims to represent the LGBTQ+ community while it is accepting funding and not standing up for the rights and freedom of not just LGBTQ+ Palestinians, but all Palestinians? Because this is the one area where Israel doesn't discriminate. It's based on who they kill. As long as they're Palestinian, they'll do it. And they are doing it. So no, the queer people of this country who stand by the missions of these organizations are not cool with this at all. We are just one of the many communities in this country alone that overwhelmingly oppose Israel, its pinkwashing campaigns, where they spend so much money to try and convince the world that you can be whoever you want in Israel as an LGBTQ+ person, while simultaneously enacting genocide and ethnic cleansing of the Palestinian people. The math is not mathing. And queer people, we're smarter than that, and we don't accept this. So what are we going to do about it? You're going to head over to this link right here. It's also in my bio. And you're going to sign the petition. You can head over to my grid on Instagram and share the slides. Share this video. If you're a content creator or artist, make your own. And let's get some signatures on this petition. And I've had some people ask me, well, you know, I've never felt represented by these organizations, so what's the point? As somebody who is a very strong proponent of grassroots org building, what I have to say to you is that these organizations have the institutional power to pressure our government to end this genocide. Like, that is the most immediate thing we need to be focusing on right now. We pressure them, they pressure the governments with their lobbying power. It's as simple as that. So yalla, get to it and spread the word. Don't forget that it's not just about free Palestine, but the Palestine that's freeing us along the way.